All right. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Coffee Q&A, your daily dose of Coffee Q&A here on the Coffee Channel. I'm your host, and how's it going? Today we've got our brewing. No, I'm just messing with you. We're not going to be brewing that. We're going to put that away for a while. What's going on, man? How are you guys doing? Coffee Cove, how are you, man? Good to see you. Titled, Gen 2 Brewers Installation. No worries, I got it. I got you. I saw your messages. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. We're gonna go through that. Actually, one of the other guys, Bald Head Racing, Craig was like, he messaged me. He dropped some messages on yesterday's live stream's comments, and he's like, oh, maybe try this. So there's a couple things. So we're gonna try. I'm gonna check out your video, and then I'm gonna check out what Craig has to say about things, and then maybe next week we'll give it a try again. But today we're back in our studio, and we're gonna be brewing with the Phin. The Phin, actually, and today we've got to be a little bit quickly because I do have an event to attend at 11, so in an hour, and it's about a 15-minute drive, so we're going to try to keep this show to about half an hour instead of our usual meandering babbling. So this is the Phin. The Phin is the Vietnamese style brewer, and you can see I got this from my friend Lynn at Vietnam Specialty Coffee. We met at the show a few years ago, and she gave this to me, this cool Phin. Now, normally most Phins are stainless steel. This particular one, and it's getting damaged. Oh man, or dirty. Is that damaged? Oh, that's just residually dried sweetened condensed milk. So this is actually anodized aluminum, or no, maybe it's not anodized aluminum, but it is aluminum rather than maybe it's. Yeah, it's some kind of coated aluminum. This doesn't look like anodizing. Anodizing typically doesn't have this kind of texture, I don't think. But I'm not sure. It could be anodized. Anodized and laser etched with their logo. So Lynn owns a company called Soul Coffee in is it in Ho Chi Minh City? I think in Ho Chi Minh City, and really lovely coffees, beautiful coffees. And if you're not too familiar with Vietnam, or didn't know, Vietnam is like the world's second largest producer of coffee. Mostly Robustas, and not necessarily fine Robustas, but just volume of production, I think is second in the world to Brazil. So there's a lot of coffee coming out of Vietnam. Now, today, I thought we would brew with this, but not use it in the context of Vietnamese coffee, right? The Café Suda. What we're going to be using it is it just as a brewer to see, can we make a nice brew with it? Because typically when you make your Vietnamese coffee, you're going to take the coffee and you're going to brew it really concentrated and thick, and you're going to brew it over sweetened condensed milk. And then you're going to add water to that, hot water to that, to create the beverage. And it can be a wonderful beverage. Now, I do have some recipes. I have the recipe for today down below in the description. Plus, I also have some links to other videos where we have done the Vietnamese coffee over the years. So you can check those out if you want to see those. So that get a little bit more of an approach, because today's approach is going to be completely different. Well, relatively different than others. Kent and Mom are here. What's going on, guys? Naomi's with us also. I'll have to look at that video, Coffee Cove, for the installation, the Brewers installation. And also, it says Coffee Cove, they have another video that Anton was conveying. So it looks like to be too. I was talking. On Thursday nights I do a coffee and cigars live stream on another channel, and Craig was on. Craig was. Bald Head Racing is normally one of our viewers there, and as well. And so that's what we were talking about. He was telling me about the comments that he left about the video, or about the about the video, yesterday's video. And I was like, yeah, Anton was like, right. Because we were laughing. I said, I think Anton was mad. Like, I think he was like getting frustrated. Like, I keep writing down and telling you exactly. You just need to read. I was like, okay, take it easy there, bro. It's all good, man. It's all good. We're gonna fix it. I don't know how it's gonna operate today. I basically did the live stream yesterday that we were messing with it, and I haven't touched it since. I brought it back down here, and now we're gonna see what happens. So let's see what happens. All right, sounds all right. too bad I can't be linked here. You know, I don't know. I mean, did you try putting the link in the description? Because if it doesn't happen very often, but sometimes what I remember in the past is that if you put a link, then it would like, in the past, it used to show it to me, especially if I'm watching on the YouTube studio streaming output, and then I could authorize it to post to everything. So give it a try. If it works, then great. If it doesn't, then that's all right. We'll figure that out in some way or another. And I'll look it up. Don't worry. I'll look it up. Because I always will, like, I'll review the comments here just to make sure I get the titling correctly. But anyway, so we're going to make our coffee now. And because we've been using this Misty Valley G1, grade 1 Yoga from Ethiopia, I thought we'd just continue with that because I'm kind of curious to see how this coffee tastes in this manner since we've been tasting it for the last like 2 weeks. I'm not tired of the coffee. I enjoy it. All right, let's see here. Naomi says, I don't own a Phin, so I'm very curious. And here's the thing, Naomi, you can buy the Phin very, very cheaply. Like it's one of the cheapest brewers out there. Oh, what am I doing? In fact, I'm making a mess. Actually, let me. I should have grabbed one, but let me grab another one here. Well, this particular one that I'm using today is aluminum, stamped aluminum, and it is, from Vietnam and relatively difficult to get. It's not difficult to get a Phin here in the United States. You can pretty much go to any Asian market and they're going to have it. Like this one here, I just said to you I can get it from almost any Asian market, and I'm going to and the one that I'm going to show you I picked up at an Asian market in Chicago. But I don't know. I found this in Chicago. I was like, oh, and they were actually cheaper than $5. So I bought one, and as you can see, I still haven't opened it. This particular one is called Titalak. Now, to me, the brand name is not terribly important. They're all relatively the same, right? They all have this stamped steel lid. They have, perforations in the bottom. The perforations are much larger than the perforations we're used to seeing in the specialty coffee world. Perforations here, and then perforations here on the bottom, on the little saucer thing. So this is the base. This is pretty much what you would see whenever you find a Phin. And this is the style of Phin that we used at Spro for many, many years. And there's also a video that I linked down below called "My Despised Vietnamese Coffee," a video that I made several years ago because. The truth is that, while, your barista may be very happy to see you and very happy to serve you and take care of your beverage, there are things that, there are items that your barista really hates to make. And one of those for me was the Vietnamese iced coffee. And I was like, so if you walked in and you were like, especially if it was busy, and you walked up to me and I'd be like, oh, hey, well, how you guys doing today? And you're like, can I get a Vietnamese iced coffee? Like, of course, absolutely. Be very happy to make it for you. But behind this facade was really like, oh God, here we go again. And only because the Vietnamese iced coffee takes so much time and effort to make. Like, it looks very simple, but in a bar setting, like if you only have 4 of these, like you have to start to, like 2 people come in and you need to start worrying, like, am I going to run out? Because now you've got to like, it's a slow brew process. It takes a long time for it to flow through. So you're like, oh God, here we go. And I explain it a little bit more in the video down below. So if you have a look at that, I mean, I like the drink itself. It's just like, oh gosh, we got to make it. It was one of the drinks that here we go again. I charged this thing and now it's already uncharged. Okay, let me find this cable, see if I can get it to plug in. Of course it won't reach. Anyway, so it was one of those things where, like, it was annoying to me to make, and there was always a part of me that was like, I need to delete this from the menu. Just delete it and make my life easier. But the thing is, it was such a popular drink that if we deleted it, then people would be upset. And I was like, oh man, it's not unpopular enough for me to delete from the menu. Okay, so we've got 20 grams. We're going to grind to a fine grind, quite a fine grind. So like we were grinding the other, and now I'm going to give you, see, now that I changed this whole thing, the references from last week mean nothing because who knows where it is. So we're going to go fully fine here and then come back with 2 clicks. We're going to come back to almost 2. We're going to just go to 2. We're just going to go to 2 on the dial here. We're going to turn it on, see if it crunches. I mean, I do like the speed of this grinder. Okay, so we got 20 grams, and now what we're going to do is I'm going to brew into this cup here. And so the Phin is in 3 pieces, right? Oh, this one. So if you notice, this one does not have the inner plunger thing that this one has. And I like this newer version better because this plunger only served to compact the coffee more, create greater resistance, and make longer brew times, which made my life as a barista making drinks all the more complex because now I've got this. And it's not just a matter of like, it's this one drink is taking a long time, right? This one drink is now taking a long time and it's occupying, and while it's brewing and I'm waiting for it, it's occupying bar space, like space in my workflow area. So now I have to work around it. And if I have 2 or 3 of them stacked, and then I'm still making other coffees for other guests, this is just in the way. So it's just like, gosh, just all around, it was an upsetting style of coffee to make. I was like, okay, so let's go and put the coffee in. We've got 20 grams of coffee, and gosh, that looks like a lot for this. I don't think our recipe was 20 grams. We're following Lynn's recipe today, which I think is more of a specialty coffee. Like I think we used a lot less. I have to look at my notes from the shop to see. So we've got the coffee here. We're just gonna shake, and even it out. Put it on there. Put it on the glass. Now we're gonna tear out our scale. Let me just boost the temperature of the water again. Malcolm's with us. What's going on? And Anton's here. Hot ears are burning. Oh, he's not sure. Naomi says, your ears burning. Your name came up. We were talking about you behind your back. I'll let you can watch it. You can rewind and see exactly what I said. So I don't have to repeat it. Power Plant's here. What's going on, Power Plant? And Coffee Coke says, yeah, Anton was right. Fellow would say, listen to him and run from coffee. All right, here we go. We got some, or listen to who? Was there maybe something I'm missing? Something I'm missing. Oh, maybe not. Okay, anyway, so we're going to pour this hot water in, this boiling water into this kettle to just give it a little bit of a cool down. And now we're going to pour 40 grams for like a pre-wetting, and then another 40 grams for the total dosage. Now this is going to be, it should go very slowly, right? Zoom in a little more. Can you see that better? All right. I actually haven't used this brewer since I got it a couple of years ago. Oh, that went really fast. Okay, so it seems that it's soaked in. However, there's very little coming out right now. Like, yeah, there's almost nothing coming out now. I think most of this 40 grams of water has been absorbed by the coffee. So let's do some more brewing, more adding water. We're going to go to 80 grams, what they said. Yeah, that was definitely laden with water. And well, if I had used this type of brewer back in the days, this would have been Vietnamese coffee would have been much easier to make. All right, so that's 80, right? That's 80 grams. So I'm going to do it a little bit more because it keeps on fluttering. And that yields just a very tiny yield of coffee. But really, this is 20 grams and 80 grams. This is the same yield, or should be relatively the same yield as a lot of the recipes from the OXO that we were using for that. I don't know. Is that a coincidence, or is this a conspiracy? One of the things also to keep in mind is that because there's this other plate, there's always a little bit of coffee that gets soaked in, that just kind of like hanging out on the plate. I feel like there's not enough. I feel like there's not enough, right? So, and the nice thing about this, you just kind of flick it, and you can knock out most of the coffee. It is hot because this is aluminum, but the other ones are stainless, so they're transferring the heat through the through the metal very quickly. So if you're doing it like I did just right after you brew, it's going to be pretty warm. Now, normally with this coffee, you would have a layer of sweet condensed milk. We don't have that today because we're not doing Vietnamese coffee, Café Suadat. We're trying to see how we can make nice coffee in a Phin. So here's our elixir. Power testing. Does the U.S. have any of the Trung Nguyen coffee shops? We do. I have not seen a Trung Nguyen coffee shop here. I have. Trung Nguyen is available as a brand of prepared coffee here in the United States. If you go to the markets or Asian market, actually a lot of the markets have it. But interesting enough, while Trung Nguyen is available in the United States, most Vietnamese restaurants are using Café du Monde from New Orleans with the chicory. I don't know what the connection is. Maybe that chicory is the flavor. If you look at Trung Nguyen's packaging, it says coffee and artificial flavoring. So they're flavoring the coffee with chocolate flavor because you can taste the chocolate in it. I think I did a video a long time ago about tasting that coffee. I think it was one of the live streams. Anyway, it is an artificially tasting chocolate. It's not really great, but it's kind of classic for this coffee. So if you buy Trung Nguyen and you do this and you make it like this with a nice thick layer of your, what do you call it, of sweet condensed milk, you will have a pretty authentic Vietnamese iced coffee. But today, we're not going to have that. We're going to try it. So let's taste this concentrated brew. Yeah, too concentrated. Gosh, it's just like we did those concentrated brews last week or early this week, whatever it was. So time to add some bypass. I'm just gonna add bypass to a point that I think looks nice, because we just want to make coffee, just a simple pour over coffee. Maybe a little bit more. Power plant says, yes, the Phin is too slow for some people. It is sometimes. It's right. Like this, in this configuration, gosh, it's god-awful slow. But this is not bad. This time-wise was pretty quick. Anton says, I bet you would like the Chowdo Hoop Brewer. Oh, I like Chowdo's products. I'm not familiar with the Hoop Brewer. JR, how are you, man? Good to see you. They are dotted around Asia. Oh, I'm not surprised. I believe it. And Peter says, I can get Trung Nguyen coffee pre-ground in Australia. Nice. I mean, I think they're everywhere. But Highlands coffee is upmarket in Vietnam. Oh. I was supposed to go to Vietnam in 2023 when I was doing the Asia tour. And I called Lynn. I said, Lynn, I'm coming. I called my other friends in Vietnam. I said, I'm coming. I saw one of my good friends at the SCA like the month before. And I was like, I'm coming to visit. He's like, good. stay at this hotel. It's close to my shop. Let's hang out. Excellent. I made a reservation at the hotel, made my flights. I was all good to go. I flew to Bangkok, right? I flew to Bangkok. I'm hanging out one night, smoking cigars with my friend Frank. We're at the Kempinski Hotel having these big like Cuban cigars and having a great time listening to jazz and like drinking like whiskeys or whatever we're drinking. And my friend's like, so you're going to Vietnam tomorrow? I was like, yeah, man, I'm going to Vietnam tomorrow. And he was like, did you get your visa? Because he's also American. He's ex-American expat in Bangkok. And I was like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? He's like, dude, you need a visa. I was like, what? And he's like, yeah. We're Americans. We're like the only country they don't allow in without a visa. And I was like, oh no. Because in this whole time, nobody mentioned visas to me. None of my friends mentioned visas, getting visas. And then like, maybe because they're citizens, that's probably why they didn't mention it. And then like when I made the reservation, it said nothing about getting a visa. And I was like, oh, okay, we're good to go then. We're good to go. Because I'm used, as an American citizen, I'm usually able to travel through most countries. I think it's only 177. Maybe it's less now that we have with our current political situation, but it was 177 countries at one point that you could travel to visa-free as a U.S. citizen. And I'm like, I hadn't even thought about that. So I was like, oh no. So it turns out to get a visa, it takes 3 days. And I was like, oh man, my whole trip to Vietnam was 3 days. I was like, oh man. So I ended up canceling my trip to Vietnam and stayed in Bangkok for a few extra days, which wasn't really a hardship. But it was disappointing because I was really looking forward to finally visiting Vietnam and getting a taste for the food and the coffee. But, well, what can you do? What can you do? Next time. Parplan says cafe in Vietnam is pretty much the only Southeast Asian country that uses that pronunciation. Most use kopi. Yes. I guess that's part of their language. That was my presumption. I'm not really sure. Peter says yes, but it's pronounced similar to Hong Kong Cantonese. You mean the kopi? Kopi? Is that right? Kopi? Something like that. I'm trying to remember how my friends in Kuala Lumpur were saying it. The kopi. If you watch the videos of us going around the kopitiams in KL, or actually it's more Klang than KL. Good times. I haven't been able to find vegan condensed milk, says Naomi, so I haven't been interested in trying to make Vietnamese coffee. You know, I mean, I don't necessarily think you need to have. Well, you know what you could do? So what is sweetened condensed milk? Sweetened condensed milk is milk sugar's been added to it, but it's also been condensed, right? So I think they heat it up and they reduce it. So if you took your favorite alternative milk, like let's say coconut milk, right? So coconut milk, and let's say you wanted to make something similar to give you that impression of this coffee, then perhaps you might consider taking that coconut milk, put it in a pan, adding whatever sweetener you normally add. Like if you're not a sugar person, then maybe you do the agave. Add agave to it, and then bring it to it, heat it up, and slowly reduce it down to a thicker consistency. And maybe that will give you an approximation of the sweetened condensed milk that we use in normal Vietnamese iced coffee or Vietnamese coffee. All right, that's not bad. That's pretty good. That's pretty. Paige is asking, not even sweetened, not even condensed coconut milk? At least you haven't seen it, at least. Peter says, if you go to Vietnam, go to Pleiku for coffee growing region up in the highlands. Okay, I will remember that. I will try to remember that at least. Powerplant says, Singaporean kopi is pretty much my favorite coffee in Southeast Asia. Yes, it is similar to Malay, but I love the Singapore version. So the one that you're thinking about, is it the one where they're like doing the big pour, and they're going from like sock to sock? I'm totally fascinated by these old school brewing methods, and I'm just like, so when I was there, I was just kind of watching the guys. Like, whoa, it's amazing. Like there's this place called Toast Box. They have outlets in Manila, and they're like doing the whole like heavy pour. I always wanted to buy one of those, like or at least two. You have to buy two of the pitchers, right? I always wanted to buy two of the pitchers and do that. I thought that'd be kind of fun to do in America. Power Plant says vegetable proteins and animal proteins may behave differently. But I think that if it's just a matter of heat reduction, I think that would be all right. Naomi says, I'm not a sweet coffee person, so there's a lot of work, and I might not like it. Well, but you know, it's a lot of work, but you know what? Then you know if you don't like it. Then you know you never have to waste your time ever again to try it. Condensed milk is usually pressure cooked, says Power Plant. I guess we could pressure cook it. Paige says I had an espresso drink in Colorado at Huck made with condensed coconut milk. It was so good. Oh, see, it might be worth trying. Power Plant says both Malay and Singapore are version of the Hainanese style coffee. So are you? So I mean, if you're a greater fan of Singaporean style coffee, then I hear that the big battle between Malaysians and Singaporeans. I guess I shouldn't say ex-Malaysians, right? That would be inappropriate. But what is it? At the end of the one video, the first video that we released from Klang, my friend Prue is like, she's talking about this particular dish. Now the name escapes me. Where they Singaporeans and Malaysians like argue about whose version, nasi goreng, I think it is, whose version is better. What are your thoughts there, Peter? Nasi goreng from Singapore or nasi goreng from Malaysia? Which is the better one? Never says that's how I'd like to try it. Yeah, much easier that way. All you got to do is go to Colorado just this weekend. Southwest has cheap flights out of Baltimore. Just go have coffee, then come back. Actually, that's what I was thinking about doing because my niece was telling me she got invited to an influencer event. And I was like, influencer event? I've been doing this YouTube thing for 5 years. Nobody's invited me to an influencer event. You've been doing it, 2 years, and suddenly you're like an influencer that have all these followers and like you're making these get ready with me videos. Right? So she's all like, get ready with me and like, get the makeup and the skincare. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. And she's like got all the outfits and just, the fit check kind of thing. Oh, actually, that's my friend. That's my other friend. She does the fit check. My niece just does the get ready. Anyway, and I was like, man, that's awesome because her channel has surpassed my channel in subscriber count, and she was growing really fast. Well, compared to me, she was relatively fast. So I was like, oh, that's awesome. And I was like waiting for the day when her subscriber count would eclipse mine, and I was like, right on, girl. Anton says influencer events are well, absolutely. But she's young and she's like, but I was like looking at the flights because I was like, she's like, yeah. I was like, I got invited to this influencer party. I said, oh, that's awesome. Where is it? She's like, LA. Are they going to fly you? She said, oh, no, they're not going to fly. But if I'm there, then I can go. And then they want me to come. And I was like, oh, what if you went? And so I was looking at flights, right? So I looked on United, which is the airline I normally fly. And I was like, Baltimore to LA. How much would that cost? $740. Oh, $740. That'd be like $1,500 in tickets. No, I can't. No, that's I don't have that kind of money. I gotta buy Festool. So I was looking at Southwest Airlines, and it's like Southwest Airlines like half the price. And I was like, that might be all right. Maybe her dad will give me the money. Nasi goreng and nasi lemak, more noodle and rice respectively. Okay, gotcha. And nasi goreng is Indonesia. Oh, okay. What is the one that I'll remember later. Which for some reason I have also lived for a time. Oh, nice. There's coffee steeped in large bags and boiled in a bag. Oh, okay. And Peter says there's a guy on YouTube milking almonds. Apparently the nuts has udder, and he milks them like. Oh, really? What kind of craziness is that? That is crazy. Now he says, I had a friend who made coffee this way. She was Puerto Rican. Oh, Huck is Huckleberry Roasters. Okay, gotcha, Paige, gotcha. That's where we had coffee almost every day on our Colorado trip in July. Nice. Peter says, my favorite ramen is Indomie. Mia. I don't mind Indonesian coffee, but too very funky. Yeah, they like the funky stuff in Indonesia. One of my good friends, he had a really cool shop that was all white. I forgot the name of it at the moment. I keep forgetting things. problem with age. But he had like a stormtrooper helmet in it because it was all white. I was like, oh, that's kind of awesome. I want to come check it out. But he's closed it since. Power Plant says I had a Puerto Rican neighbor who swore everyone made instant. Also have to be a bit careful sometimes with influencer parties. It's not always as safe. And I totally hear you in that. That's one of the things I was like, maybe I should go with you because, it's like, she's only 15. And there's a part of me that's very like 15 and making YouTube videos. And, it's always about guys, right? It's always about guys. And guys are just terrible people. We're terrible people. We're lecherous people at our core. Like there's just nothing redeeming about us, right? And that's what this is how I see people, right? It's like we're terrible people because you know what? Like, and it's like guys only want one thing. This really. I mean, I know there's going to be you probably got some pushback from you that you're all we're all nice guys, and I'm a nice guy too, right? I try to be respectful of girls, women, and like. Respect their boundaries, and when they say no, no means no. But still, you're still hunting. You still want to hunt. You're still like, and that's the part for me for my nieces that I'm always like, whether they're like the ones that are 15 or the ones that are 27, it's still the same. It's still like, oh God, such a pain to navigate that, So for them, not necessarily for me, I'm just like. What kind of comments are you getting? Like, are they, you know how people are on the internet. Anyway. Power Plant says, reading the comments out of order is insane. I know, it's like, I don't get to see them all. All right, so before we head out, which I have to do very soon, we're going to try one little thing here. I got this Brulee Maryse. This is from Tokyo. My brother and his family were in Tokyo a couple months ago. And they brought this back for my mom, and I was like, oh, I'm going to take this and use this on the show. So this is a little creme brulee cream tart. And they're a little bakery. I guess they're not that little, but you can see nice packaging. And it says that, this is the creme brulee tart, and it's very nice. And these are the different flavors, basic flavor, and then other flavors, and then filled flavors. So all very nice. No, I can't really read the color, so... Anyway, so I thought we would check it out because I haven't tried these yet. This is the first time I'm trying these. So I was like, oh, let's have it with some coffee. And there's a little notch here they put to tear it easily. Oh, look at that. There's even a little tiny silica gel packet to make sure that it stays dry. That's very thoughtful. Can you imagine? This is you're walking through the subway, or you're walking through the metro, and like this. You have to put this in your pocket. Okay, so looks like some kind of shortbread cookie kind of crust here. Brulee, creme-ish kind of thing. Brulee sugar here on top. Paige says, "Oh my God, I want it." Yes, it's truly nice. They sure love the packaging, and I kind of like that with the packaging thing. Right? Okay, so let's take a bite. So, when we think of creme brulee, we think of very soft cream. This is a very dense and not necessarily chewy, but it's a thicker cream, which makes sense. It has to be a shelf-stable product for such a certain period of time. The crust is very solid and crunchy. The brulee, the sugar, is still crunchy. Actually, so the silica gel is working amazing. Here's the cross member of it. Prabhupada says Japanese souvenir culture is strong. The interesting thing is that as I was learning about Japanese culture when I was living in Hawaii, and my friends were Japanese, and they were talking about the process of gift giving, right? When you travel somewhere, you buy something for your family or your friends, and you give them. What's it? I know you guys will know the name of that. I cannot remember the name of that, the term of that. Oh, I think there's even a layer of brulee at the bottom of the crust. Maybe we'll see. And I thought, oh, that's kind of unique for Japanese. And it didn't occur to me till many, many years later that, that's a cultural thing that I notice in many different cultures. Like even in Filipino culture, we do that. We don't do it as necessarily as beautifully as the Japanese do, because the Japanese are all about presentation, and they want to have it not just in nice boxes with nice individual wrap packaging, but they want to have nice wrapping around it so that when they present it to whoever they're presenting it to, it's really nice. And then in the Filipino culture, we're not that refined, so it's just kind of like, hey, I've got this like coffee or whatever. And it turns out it's always food product, right? Like I think about Filipino culture and it's like, what do we give to each other? We give each other food. We don't give each other like here in American culture, we're buying like some kind of trinket, like like a little like plate or spoon or magnet. But really, Filipinos, man, we're like, oh, we got this food for you. We bought this live crab and we brought it for you. So I was like, oh, all right, excellent. Asian devs with us, what's going on? Zoto is the Japanese tradition. Really? It's called Zoto? Yeah. Okay, that's a whole word I didn't even know about it. Awesome. Oh, yeah, there's definitely a layer of the right at the bottom. And it's very crunchy. The whole thing has a very crunchy, chewy, gooey. Maybe it's more gooey and chewy, the brulee filling. I mean, the cream filling. And with the coffee, excellent accompaniment. This is actually really good. I don't know if it's available at Amazon, but if it is, I would recommend buying. Like there's a chewiness to it. Like the brulee sugar has a chew. Omiyage, that's the word. That's the word I had in mind. Is souvenir in Japan, and it's probably the word. Yes, you're totally correct. But so omiyage is the souvenir, and yoto is the practice of giving it to someone. Would that be correct? I'm understanding. Peter says, but at least the Japanese trash their packaging away neatly to be recycled, not in Southeast Asia. Can you imagine? Like, totally agree with you. Can you imagine like Manila? Like if Filipinos were into like this kind of level of packaging for everything that they're giving to each other, can you imagine the level of like trash that would increase in Manila? Like beautiful wrappers just strewn about and flying around the city. You're like, what is going on here? You'd have these Filipinos, they'd be like, ano ba naman ito? What is happening? What is the deal? Almost all the waste is burned in Japan, recycling or otherwise. You know what I thought was interesting is I watched this one creator, What the Pato is her channel name, Patricia O'Connor. She's a American Chinese girl, like half and half, right? Mixed girl. And she makes I love her videos. I love her videos about, she lives in Tokyo with her Japanese boyfriend, and they do these videos, and really fun videos to watch. What the Pato? Patricia O'Connor, that's why Pato, right? Like foot in Spanish. But she did a video where she was talking about the trash and how, like, I didn't realize it, but you have to pay for your trash pickup in Japan, and you'll have to buy certain bags, like little trash bags, little what we would consider grocery bags here in America, like those plastic bags at the grocery, and you buy that at the store, which pays for the collection, and you put all your trash in that, and then you throw it away, you put it in the pickup spot. So I was like, oh, that's a good idea. Anton says, in Germany, we have meticulous trash separation. I wouldn't expect any less from Germany. Everything seems to be meticulous there. If I go to the curry house, if I go to the curryverse place, and the fries are put nicely into the container, very perfect. Would you like some curry ketchup? Yes, I would like it. And then very, very gently, professionally put on. Very nice. Thank you. Dankeschön. All right. I just came back from Indonesia, says Peter, and I felt like picking. Yeah, that's a losing battle. All right, so and Asian Dev says it's also crazy. Found out Japanese median age is like 47. Had a conversation that hopefully not in 10 years that Japan is still culturally intact. And that I know is a concern for some Japanese because, yeah, especially as more non-Japanese move into Japan and they allow more immigration, then the local population will start to be eclipsed. I don't know what to do about that. I don't know what you should do about that. Prabhupada says Japan has a shiny luster, but it's pretty much the same as everywhere else. I mean, I guess you could that loss of culture could be maybe you could look at Hawaii. Right? Hawaii is a great place. Maybe an example of that. Hawaii at one point was dominated by Hawaiians, ethnic Hawaiians that had been there since they voyaged on canoes to the islands. And through immigration and through the overthrow by the United States government and business interests here in the U.S., Hawaii became a very more cosmopolitan, or no, not cosmopolitan, because, cosmopolitan implies a level of sophistication, and these people were not interested in sophistication. They were interested in commerce and bringing slave laborers, essentially, not necessarily owned by the company, but definitely in that position where they're put on plantation homes and living in lower quality conditions. But they brought in immigrants from other parts of the world, Brazil, Puerto Rico, Philippines, Japan, China, all over the place. And over the last 100 years, and we're maybe 200 years, the Hawaiian population today is super, for most intents and purposes, almost pretty much wiped out, right? Like there are people trying to maintain the culture and all that, but Kyori may get upset with this, but for many intents and purposes, the culture has been wiped out. I mean, the people have been wiped out, whether it was through intermarriages or whatever. But the ethnic Hawaiians have been, like Kyori's one of the very last ethnic Hawaiians left. And maybe that's not to say that Hawaii is a bad place, and it's a wonderful place that's very multicultural and very diverse and it's a wonderful place to be because there's so much intermingling. It's truly, I think Hawaii is truly a vision of how the United States could be if we could get over institutional racism, inherent racism in a lot of people, to live with others and accept others as different and different cultures and welcome them into their families. Because you talk to like a lot of people that are from Hawaii, and at some point the idea or the identity of or the question of ethnic identity comes up, and you're like, well, what are you? And they're like, well, I'm English, and so I'm Hawaiian, Chinese, Spanish, English, Filipino, Puerto Rican, Korean. And you're like, what? And that's because there's been so many generations of intermingling, intermarriage, that it creates a whole nother kind of patois, a whole nother kind of populace. That I think was really, really beautiful. So anyway, that's a lot of talking. It's a lot of talking. Shanghai reminded me of Singapore, says Peter. And then Prabhupada says, lived in Japan since 2017, and the population is pretty old, especially outside the, The population is pretty old, like really old. I wish I could say it's possible, but I have little hope for a large amount. I hear you, Paige. I totally do. And, if you ever looked at my Facebook page, you would see that there's a lot of agreement with that kind of sentiment in my mind. But I do believe, I was out meeting someone the other day to pick up some equipment, and I bought it on Marketplace, and I looked at his, looking at his Facebook page to see who is this person I'm going to deal with. And he's this guy out in the rural countryside and rides a motorcycle, hunts and fishes and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, could be of the political stance that I'm not quite aligned with, but I'm like, what? I'm here to meet people and not put up barriers necessarily. So I want to go and hang out with him. So I went and hung out with him, and we talked. We got along great, like a great person. And I don't know what his political stance is or whatever his stance is, but I think it's important for us to relate to each other as individuals, as people, and not get mired in the political or those other stances. Because I think that what I think people feed upon, the powerful people that feed upon, feed us, is that they want to feed division and fear. Fear is really it. Like, what is it that these people who are not necessarily in alignment with my way of thinking, what are they thinking? They're fearful of something. They've been taught to be fearful of the other. And I don't want that. I want us to always be trying to understand the other, to welcome the other. Part of the reason why I do, videos on YouTube is to be open to the other and to hopefully keep people open to that. So anyway, that's still, again, a lot of like babbling. Power Plant says, I'm friends with a lot of Orange Man followers. We just agreed to not talk about politics. I'm definitely along with that thought. Sometimes it is more difficult. Like in one of my group of friends, we have this phone thread that we talk about. And you know what? I never bring up politics, but once in a while they want to make some kind of comment. Like one of my friends is in Chicago for a trade show. He's like, "I'm in Chicago, doing something," and he said something. I can't remember. And I was just like, well, I just can't leave it. I can't leave it unanswered. So I said back. I said, I sent back this clip from Instagram or something where like, the people of Chicago were like pushing ice out of a neighborhood. I said, and the ice was like running away from them. And I was like, I hope this wasn't you. But anyway, the key is that I think that we need to discuss more, because what I found as I traveled the world, and I traveled to places like the Middle East, where Americans have been taught to fear and hate Middle Easterners and Muslims, right? Because there's just so much fear, because they don't worship our God. What God do you think they worship? This is the three Abrahamic faiths. Of course they worship the same God. They just have a different word for it. God is English. Yahweh is, Hebrew. And then Allah is, Arabic. But what I found with a lot of people around the world that I meet in all kinds of spaces, whether I was in Russia or in Saudi Arabia or down in Africa, is that, most everybody really just wants to have a good future for their children. They want to be able to feed their children and take care of them and have them have a better future than themselves. That's where I think we need to focus our attentions on. It's like everybody really wants the same thing. We're just being led astray by leaders, whether they're political, civil, or religious leaders, who have an agenda they're trying to push on us. Anyway, that's too heavy, and I have to go to this event. All right, so you bring that point up a lot about the Middle East, but Gen Z and after have not been raised that way. I hope so, and I certainly get that feeling. But I am trapped in my Gen X upbringing. So that's one of the problems that I think people of my age and generation have to deal with. Like I see it, like on my social media feeds, I see all these other Gen Xers, and they're always posting these memes, and you've probably seen them, how they laud, we're like the greatest generation, we're like awesome because we were alone and like latchkey kids, and I'm like, you guys are we're the ones in charge now, and we're fucking shit up. They're the ones that are like all these participation. Who are the parents? What generation is the parents of these kids that are so soft? It's our generation that are the parents. So who are the people that are like fucked up? It's us, Gen Xers. And I'd say that all the time to like people. They just say, oh, who's to blame? Everyone. It's always like somebody else is to blame, but never ourselves. Anyway, that's enough. I got to run. So hopefully you have a wonderful day out there. Have a great weekend. I'll be back on Monday, I think, for another live stream here on the Coffee Q&A. So yeah, I got to run. Have a great one, and see you next time.